Qwen 3.8 just revealed a brand new mid-size model that they're going to open tomorrow that competes directly, maybe even better than 27B. Apple just revealed the brand new M5 and M6 chips, and it's looking like it's going straight for the DGX Spark consumer. Is this the end of the Spark? Let's find out. All right, y'all, so let's get straight into the news today. We got a brand new release coming in from Qwen with Qwen 3.8, and this is called Qwen 3.8 Next. So when I first saw this, I thought of Qwen Next, that was Qwen 3 Next that released back in September. And back then, that model was an 80B A3MOE, which is, of course, a mixture of experts. But come to find out now that this is a 125 billion parameter A active 6 billion parameter MOE that's dropping tomorrow at 11 a.m. So make sure y'all tuned in. We're going to be going live when this thing drops, okay? But there's a little bit more when it comes to this model as well. But first things first, when you click this right here, it takes you once again to model scope with the countdown timer. And you can see, at least I saw, yes, you're going to be getting this as a base model, and they will be dropping this as a FP8. So they will come out with the 8-bit as well. And then I'm pretty sure throughout the day, we will see people break this down, whether it's NVIDIA, Unsloth will probably get us a, NVP4 for people like us that, run Blackwell, or we running, DGX Sparks. You got the INT4 that will run well, of course, with, your 3090s and stuff like that. So I'm pretty sure down the pipeline, a lot of different people will go through and quantize this. And maybe I might even try to do that while live. But the first thing is definitely just getting this thing stood up on the DGX Spark and running and going from there. Now, with that said, though, there is a little bit of speculation on how this model will be and how it will fit overall, because it is coming in at 125 billion parameters, but then it says supplemented by an additional 51 billion engram embeddings. So I'm a little unsure of what that fully means. If those 51B engrams will add additional parameters, meaning an additional size to the model. So is this really a 176 billion like weights overall that you have to account for, or is there something that moves around within the system that makes it still 125? Because if it's 125, that should not be an issue for the Sparks. We've been able to run like Laguna that gave us a pretty good overall context. There, it might be a little tight, but for the most part, that should fit. But if that is adding on an addition that needs to be accounted for, that then will probably put this in a more closer range of a 2 DGX Spark type of territory. So we'll just have to wait and see. Now, if this ends up being, though, able to fit on one, this is going to be the answer of everybody out there's question. Because right now, as I've always told you guys, when it comes to DGX Sparks in general, you really don't have a good overall selection that you can run on one. Now, there are some new repos that just dropped with DeepSeek that was able to be done, but that's a reap model, so it's not even the full weights or the full experts. I think it's like reaped a little bit. For the most part, what you can run that is the best speed wise is 3.6 35B A3, which is an older model, of course. You can run Nematron Super, but it's way down there. Nematron Lightning, but it's way down there. You can't see it, but yeah, these are the ones you can run. But once you start going up here, you can fit Glimmer in there, which is another one. That's a big dense model. And then the best model that you can technically run on one and get the full feel is 27B. But since it's a dense model, it ends up being a little harsher on it, harsher in speed. Now, Laguna, which I don't even think that they rank Laguna, but Laguna is also, I think, it's a big MOE. It was like 122 parameters or something like that. So it did get some better speeds. But, for the most part, your best bet running a DGX Spark right now is 27B, and people have been able to push it from 30 to 40 tokens per second, which is good. And I think if I only had one, that would be the way to go. But once you get into 2, you then get into DeepSeek territory, you get into Minimax M3 territory, Inkling, the options start getting a little bit better overall. But if this ends up being how it is and it's a MOE, like I said before, I want to say that 35 BA3 was pushing around 80 tokens, 70 to 80 tokens per second, maybe a little bit more, but on DGX Spark. So when you look at MOEs, really what you got to focus on is the active parameters, right? Because that is what is actually going to be used when it comes to decoding. I don't know if it's perfect correlation. I don't think it's perfect correlation. I just don't see that being the case. And why I say that is if it's 3 active parameters that gives you 70, 80 tokens per second with 35 BA3, and then you got 6 active on this. Does that mean it's going to be 40? No, it can't be, because 27B is giving you 40, and that's all 27 pushing out at the same time. So I would say that if this ends up dropping and fitting on there, you're going to definitely see some very solid speeds. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised 50 and up, and that's where you get into a territory where you can really start cooking. Not to say you can't on others, but it just feels so much better, so much better. Now, with that said, you know me, I like to speculate. So what is my speculation? How would I speculate? I would go to Qwen 3.5. I would pull out this one, and then I would pull out this one and this one, right? When Qwen 3.5 dropped, they dropped multiple different models, right? And as you can see, during that time, 27B was right here, still at the top, beating out 397B, A17B, and 122B, A10B. Now, from an agentic standpoint, let me see. I guess they removed 27B from here. You can't even see it unless I'm blind. But even from that standpoint, they still put the big dense model stronger than the 2 MOEs. Now, we'll have to wait and see. But what I'm just trying to correlate here is how will 27B be compared to this new, MOE? That's only going to have 6 active compared to where right here it had 10. Who knows? I can't tell you. But at the end of the day, even if it is slightly below, it still is a very strong model, comparable, and the speed difference is what's going to make sense. So let's just say that this is 52 and this was to be 2 points behind. You're going to be at 50, right? At that point, you got to start questioning, would I want the 52 or do I want the 50? Do I want the 30, 40 tokens per second, or do I want the, 80 tokens per second? Like, that 2-point difference is nuanced to me. I want speed. I even dealt with that recently with DeepSeek V4 Flash that we've been running at TP4 now, right? That is actually, correction, I didn't read that, right? Just a sidebar, DeepSeek V4 Flash is at 52, GLM is at 53. An agentic standpoint, DeepSeek V4 Flash is beating out GLM. I still think that GLM is the better model overall, right? GLM requires TP4, DeepSeek requires TP2. I have 4 Sparks. I had 2 instances of DeepSeek running. I said no. I tried something different, ran TP4 DeepSeek V4 Flash, and I went from 60 to 80 tokens per second to 120 tokens per second. Well, if you have 4 Sparks, Tony, why didn't you just run GLM? Well, GLM is 30, 40 tokens per second versus DeepSeek being 120 tokens per second. I'm losing a little bit from intelligence side. Agentic side's pretty par on, but I'm getting so much more of that speed boost that the difference that I lose, I gain much more in speed. Stuff like that matters. So with that said, we'll just have to wait and see. People have been all over on Twitter talking about this, trying to figure out how this will run. People have been even asking me. Unfortunately, I don't know. I don't know how this will come out, especially for the fact that someone asked, like, does the 51 engram add up to 76? I don't know. That's the part I'm waiting to see, and I'm very curious how it will work out. And feel free to answer that down below in the comments section. Matter of fact, I'm going to ask my agent this question while we shoot this video so that we can come back and figure that part out. All right, so I asked my agent, I'm eating, y'all, forgive me, but he said that they do have to be accounted for, and he's saying that they could come in at 176 to 185, and then with the NVFP4, it's looking like 99 to 105. So that could technically fit on one GB10, the NVFP4, but the FPM, which they'll be shipping on the day of release, we'll probably have to do that. Yeah, we'll have to probably put that on 2 Sparks. So the Qwen Sparks retention should be good too, it says. So we'll just have to see tomorrow. Now, with that said, Apple just put out the M6, M5, guys. And I'm always going to be truthful to y'all at the end of the day, right? I'm going to be totally truthful. It doesn't matter. You'll learn that about me more and more. I don't give a damn, okay? I don't care. Okay, I come from a different cut of cloth. I love my DGX Spark. I love it. I'm still going to keep it. I don't think I'm going to sell my Sparks either. I don't. But what it looks like on paper off the rip, the M5, M6, more so the M6, is going to be a DGX Spark big time, competitor. Where the Spark comes into play as far as with this particular point will probably be somewhat of the pricing. But hold on, we're gonna actually look at this side by side now. So the Mac Studio just dropped. Let's just go ahead. We can fully build this out technically. We could build it out and just compare the prices. So right now you can pre-order this now up to 512 unified memory, but that is not available till later. So that's the part that's like kind of like, okay. Now, let me see. We have the M5 chip Ultra. Did I say I said M6. My bad. So we got that. Let's go ahead. You got to go for the big bangers, right? So you have two options. Now, let me just see Max before we go there. So Max, you have more options. So you got 48, 64, 128, which is a direct competitor for the Spark right here. And this is coming out at 5 bands. So right there off the rip, you have a direct competitor. And I wanted to check this with one DGX Spark. So you don't have to buy into the $10,000 one. You can go in from a M5 perspective Max chip and get yourself a 128 right off the rip. And then you can boost this thing up to 256 if you wanted to, but you got to then upgrade to the bigger core system. And once you do that, you are now sitting at that $10,000. So when you look at that on paper, $10,000, the Sparks currently go for about 4, sometimes go to 4,500. So about 9,000. It's very close on par. In my opinion, you're saving yourself a little bit. I would say that this is the equivalent. I'm going to give the equivalent and be unbiased here that this is on par with 2 DGX Sparks. Yeah, you might save $1,000, but that's about it. Okay. So at that point, you're looking at being able to run. You basically got a competition of 1 and 2 DGX Sparks out the gate. Now, at the bottom, as I stated before, the 512 memory option will be coming late October. So I'm looking forward to that, because if that's the case, this then more than likely is going to be a $20,000 system. It just makes sense. The M5 Ultra should be around that $20,000 mark. We'll just have to kind of wait and see. So instead of me going through and searching everything, I'm going to just go check out my homie June, man. June Song, man. Salute to the homie June Song. He actually, now let me see what mine said. By the way, for local AI, you should completely skip the new Mac Mini M5 Pro. 2700, you'll get 365 gig memory bandwidth and only 64. So they also, of course, dropped the Mac Mini. I guess the Mac Mini options, you are going to be, makes no sense, because you're going to be pretty much getting speeds the same as what you'd be getting with a DGX Spark. So right here is where I was looking at, and this is the most important part of the two, right? June said that the price here is going to be about $10,799 for the Mac Studio versus the 2 DGX Sparks coming in at $10,000. Currently is at 8, 9, but it probably will go up to 10 as soon as well. They said the pre-fill is almost tied as expected, but the decode is 1,200 gigabits per second versus 273 gigabits per second. So as you can see, there is no competition whatsoever out of the two there. And at this price point, I'm expecting to see, I would think to see, and who knows, because it's going to be very tough here, because once these sell out, then everybody's going to be buying the next thing, which is the Spark or the RTX 6000. And that's what I was about to say. We're comparing this so much to the Spark at this point. This even makes the RTX look even obsolete, because the RTX gives you, I think, similar decode speeds or speeds, gigabits per second speed, but at the same price, but you're getting double the overall unified memory setup, 256 compared to the 96 VRAM coming out of the RTX. And once again, the reason why I always put the the DGX above the RTX in some of these scenarios is because the RTX is just a GPU. You have to build a whole computer to put that in. The Mac Studio and the DGX are systems that are already put together. You buy the unit, plug it in, and press power on and go. That's it. There's no setting things up. It's so easy. And of course, with the Mac Studio, you can stack them. So that's another thing. They stack just like the DGX Spark, which also is another big, just overall reason why right now the Mac Studio is going to be the winner. With all that said, this is now on pre-order. The next one comes as a later on in October. Maybe that's going to be a pre-order. And at the same time, these are going to just be so hard to probably get your hands on. And what I mean by that, you can pre-order them now. When they release officially, it's going to be a long time until people can then actually buy them, or even if they will be able to go and buy them. Because you remember, once this whole open claw, everything in February, them things were gone and nobody can find them. So the reason why the Spark may still be around in some shape or form is because it's going to be so hard to get your hands on these, I feel like, unless you pre-order it right now. So that's the part of, you know, where things stand. So we have here, which is drop. Wait, no. Okay, hold on. I want to see if there's any updates on this. I do want to see where he's getting this number from. Just want to add in, after doing some further reviews, unfortunately, I should have looked at the newsroom itself, but the newsroom actually states with the 512 unified memory up to 1.2 terabytes of memory bandwidth. So the speeds are confirmed right there. So yeah. So I can't find directly where he's getting this information as far as the decode, but we will say that just based upon like the previous, at least, which I've been seeing, that these speeds probably are very, very overall somewhat within the park range. We know that already the M4s were very, very fast as well. So I only expect this to be even faster. And it seems like Mac is going directly for AI in general. So I want to figure that out. Feel free to correct me. I want to know where the hell this information is. People are here saying I have M3 256. I have two Sparks. The DeepSeek and the Deep feels at least 2 to 3 times faster. Is the gap between M3 and Ultra really that large? Yes, that much improved. I need to know where he's getting this information from. I'm not saying that he's wrong, but just I want to know. Regardless of the fact, the speed is going to be faster than whatever the DGX Spark puts out. So that price alone, this could be 500 gigabits. It's still going to be more better of the price point overall. So with that said, yeah, I mean, if you've been able to wait this long, hey, that 10,000, it might make sense. I'll be honest though, like if I had an opportunity to get this or wait and get the 510, 512, I would go for the 512. I'm going for the Big Daddy. I'm not going to get this one and then go get another one. Like, nah. But if I had an opportunity, this would be a good time to start investing and putting your money down to save up for this coming very, very soon. So yeah. So with all that said, in my humble opinion, the DGX Spark is not dead. Okay, don't get me wrong, it's not dead, but it's definitely going to be putting a lot of pressure on people out there trying to sell them. Hopefully this makes the DGX Spark more available, cheaper, because even then, I'm still down to stack and get more and more. But at the same time, from a value point, a logical standpoint, the Mac M5 just makes more sense. It's the more better buy. The issue is going to be the availability, though, to get it. Once again, what is really the more, smarter buy, you could say, from an RTX or a DGX Spark, right? Well, when you look at it from an MSRP standpoint, the RTX 6000 might actually be a little bit smarter of a buy, but you can't get it at MSRP. You have to spend double, triple the amount of what the MSRP is supposed to be. So then it makes no sense. So at a retail price point of the M5 being at that $10,000, yeah, it's a better buy. But when it drops from the pre-orders and then it drops actually in the stores, and let's just say it's not there, if it's available for that price, it's the better buy if they have enough. But knowing how the economy is, knowing how people are flipping stuff and reselling stuff, is it really going to stay at that price? I highly doubt it. So then at that point, if it ends up becoming $15,000, then it makes no sense. So that's the part that it's going to matter a lot. So we'll just have to wait and see. So let me know down below your thoughts and opinions. Peace.